With just days left to the start of the anticipated El Nino rains in the country, the government is leaving nothing to chance, with Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua convening a meeting in Nairobi with governors and other key stakeholders to deliberate on the country's preparations for the forecasted heavy downpour.
That's in terms of people going to be displaced, in terms of shelters. That will be one area that we need to focus, even education. As we prepare for exams, we need to focus on how to airlift the examination papers.
We expect landslides and mudslides in the highlands east and west of the Rift Valley. There is a high likelihood of lightning strikes. And it's important to be careful about this.
We do not wish to see the 1997 El Nino situation, which more than 1.5 million people were displaced and negatively affected.
It is during this meeting that the DP announced the government will be engaging the Kenya Defence Forces and the NYS to help unclogging drainage systems, among other tasks, including emergency interventions.
El Nino is beyond county governments. El Nino is beyond the national government. El Nino is beyond our development partners. That is why we must work together by leveraging our diverse capacities in technical and financial resources.
Leaders from regions with urban setups have been tasked to prepare waterways in anticipation for the same.
We also recognize that with the expansion of our towns, we have not matched drainage systems as required. As a matter of urgency, we request counties to prepare artificial waterways. This will include service runoff and risk of flooding, more so in residential areas.
Funding for the activities was also extensively discussed, where various suggestions were floated.
In the World Bank, there is money for emergency that is usually given to countries when you're facing a situation like this. The resources available to Kenya is about $250 million. And that translates to about 35 billion shillings. And it's given as an emergency drawback.
We need to start now having a discussion and our preparedness in terms of resources from the Civil Contingency Fund.
Governors also want the government to release at least 50% of their contingency funds to enable them prepare adequately.
Your Excellency, alarmingly, we only, as county governments in our emergency funds, have only 1 billion shillings.
The most farmers, especially in Bungoma, Trans Nzoia, and parts of Kakamega, are beginning to harvest now. So if we don't, and they're already beginning to get challenges in drying the maize. So if we can hasten that, we'll be able to manage the post-harvest losses that can easily be experienced.
CSS were also given an opportunity to outline what their respective ministries were doing in that regard. Today's stakeholders meeting is aimed at protecting Kenyans from the effects of the El Nino downpour. However, the uphill task remains how to consolidate the resources required to achieve the same. Philip Mrutu, K24, Nairobi.